What's up, everyone? Time for another very special malt review. That's Mike. I'm Narby.
What's up, guys?
We have a bunch of different versions, older versions of Springbank 21. Springbank is our very favorite distillery. We've been very fortunate enough to try some of the very, very good old stuff. That's why it is our favorite distillery. So basically, we have three miniatures here. Two of them that we've already drank, obviously, but we just wanted to bring it out just to show you guys different examples. This one it's empty right now, but it was a lighter version, very, very tropical. It's known as the Jagged Edge. It's amazing. This one right here is the John Mitchell, and this is the best one we've ever had in terms of the Springbank 21s. It's absolutely amazing. Obviously, we don't have any more of it. We've only tried a miniature of it. And then, not sure when, these two look very similar. We will have to try to figure it out. Obviously, I think these were released around, what, early 2000s, late 90s?
Yeah, probably late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly when which is released. But again, these could be exactly the same thing, or they could be just a little bit different, but along the same line. And the one we're actually going to try today, we will try these two as well as in another review, but the one we're going to try today is this old Dumpy version. And this was released in the mid-90s, I believe. And it's bottled at 46%, the same as the other ones. And this one is known as the J. Archibald Mitchell.
So this one has a similar label. This one, the full-size bottle, comes in a Dumpy bottle the same. This John Mitchell was for the Japan market only. That's why, and I think it was just 1 year release. That's why it's so rare and hard to find. You can only find it today in an auction, obviously, and it rarely comes up. But these have the same Dumpy Parchment label, but the John Mitchell, I think, is a little better.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite whiskeys that I've ever tried. It's spectacular stuff.
This J. Archibald Mitchell was UK release. I think it was multiple years, but bottom line is if you go on UK auctions, you can find this very easily still. So I definitely recommend it.
Yeah. If you guys can see, there is just a random a cleaned wine cork that didn't smell like wine anymore. Obviously cleaned it and aired it out for a long, long time. That's in here. It's obviously keeping it airtight. With a lot of older bottlings, the cork sometimes, you just really don't know what's going to happen to the cork. This one has its original cork in there, and as you can see, I'm opening it, and it's fine, but with a lot of older bottlings, when you open up the cork, it either falls into the whiskey or just kind of breaks apart. That's very common in old bottles. It's actually very unfortunate that that's the case. A lot of Japanese bottles do the screw cap, and even some Scotch bottles have done screw caps in the past, and it's not as fun as a cork. It's really fun pulling out the cork out of a bottle, that sound, and it's just unique.
Pop.
Yeah, but in terms of keeping the whiskey for a very long time and making sure that the cork is intact, it's smarter to have screw cap. It's the better option when it really comes down to it.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, Springbank 21, mid-90s bottle, Dumpy version.
J. Archibald Mitchell. First thing you can see without even pouring it, both this and the John Mitchell Dumpy version are significantly darker than these 21s. So hopefully some dark sherry cask influence.
The darkest one being our favorite, and that's not why it's our favorite, but the John Mitchell one was the darkest. This one being second darkest.
So this is a nice darker mahogany wood color.
Yes.
Very beautiful color.
It's beautiful natural color, just like all Springbanks are. No chilled filtration, no colorant added whatsoever, just like all Springbanks. Just beautiful. On the nose. Oh, heaven. Is heaven a tasting note? Because this is heavenly. It's amazing.
This is why Springbank is our favorite distillery. It's the old moldy, musky, damp sherry notes. The mustard, honey mustard, the excuse me, delicious like honey mustard sherry vinaigrette. Imagine the best Coke, the best cola you've ever had in your life. Root beer, and then still underlying, but less so, those Springbank tropical fruits like mango and a little bit of grapefruit, some apricots, some peach. This is Springbank.
This has some very unique fresh fruits. It's very, think of candied orange, think papaya, think mango, think caramel. And what Mike means when he says moldy, he's talking about deep, dark sherry, but without any off-putting notes such as sulfur or anything like that. It's just what he's mean is the intensity of it is so strong. That's why he's using the word moldy. It's just something we say when we talk about whiskey.
This is like you took a bunch of apricots and you poured like caramel and butterscotch and demerara sugar, brown sugar all in it, and you took a flame like creme brulee and burnt it a little bit, and it's juicy and it's saucy and it's thick and it's viscous.
Mike just said juicy. It actually is juicy on the nose. That's how, you're getting so many fresh fruits. I'm getting dried fruits in there too, actually, but you're getting so many fresh fruits where it's like juicy. It's juicy on the nose. It's like you want to, sometimes when you have that going on, you just want to bite the glass as you're nosing it. It's delicious.
You do want to bite the glass.
It's very, think of honeydew, beeswaxy. Lots of honey influence in there. There's mustard influence in there. There's dark cola influence in there.
Honey, beeswax, resin, like grade A amber maple syrup, but not too sweet. Perfect.
Wow, complex.
Very complex.
There's coconut.
Yeah, still those tropical elements. Basically, if you want to try an older style Springbank from the more modern 21s that are released annually today, this is one of the best purchases at an auction house that you can find right now.
There are newer releases. I believe in 2005 they stopped releasing it and they brought it back in 2011 because they were short on aged stuff. So it had a little break for the 21. Neither one of us has ever tried any other releases in 2011, 2012, 2013. I think there's one in 2014 as well.
Yes.
So they had a little bit of a break there. Just from what I've read and from what I've heard from other people, the newer bottlings are good, but they're not as good. And the reason why I'm comfortable saying that, just from hearing it from people and reading it, just because newer Springbank is not, it's very good stuff, but it's not as good as the older stuff. And but we're looking forward to purchasing one of the newer versions, bottled from 2011 on, and comparing it. We just haven't yet.
You can definitely get them. Always be on the lookout for them at all your favorite websites, mainly UK websites. They do go quickly. Once they release it, they'll sell out in probably a couple days, 2-3 days. There's a lot of sites though, so over that first week when they're released, check on it.
In the United States, the newer versions, you can find them for $400. They're cheaper in the UK, where they go for £180 original price. So in the United States, they're not as popular, so they're still available. That's the newer versions that we're talking about, not these old versions. Good luck finding these. It's almost like you forget you're doing a review, just caught up in the moment. It's so good. You don't want to drink it just yet.
These aromas they hit your senses and influence your brain in the most relaxing, pleasurable way. It's like you're on vacation, even though you're just sipping some whiskey.
I'm getting some light meat elements in there too, like ham. crystallized orange. The orange is just so sweet and sugary. It's like candied orange.
I'm getting like a little bit, imagine like sugared or crystallized candied prosciutto. A little bit of like fatty Italian cold cut type meat, like prosciutto.
There's figs and dates in here. There's some espresso elements in here. There is old furniture elements in here. Leather.
In some older Springbanks, a lot of older, sherry wood casks, you get a little bit of dryness, a little bit of tea, and I'm getting a little bit of that, but it's in the most pleasant way. Sometimes it's very off-putting to me when you get that drying tea element, but this is a very nice tea side note.
I agree with him, and the tea element is not as off-putting for me as it is for him, and I'm definitely getting some of that tea in here as well. And just complex. So complex. I mean, you could put the glass down, you pick it up, you're getting some fruity elements. You put it, bring it back up, you're getting some old furniture, leathery elements, and then you bring it back up, like he said, some tea, some fruits, some mustard, some meats like ham and prosciutto. There's just so much going on, and obviously everyone's nose is a little different, but it's hard to pick out every little aspect of it, obviously, in a short period of time. But the best way to put it is it's very complex, it's very fruity, and just incredible is really what it is. It's something every whiskey drinker should experience. On the palate?
Yes, sir.
Succulent, juicy, mango, peach, papaya, those orange candies, toffee, and now, as it's settled in, as it's slightly drying on the tongue, I'm getting a lot more of the tea element that he was talking about. And I enjoy that. It's coating on the mouth and it's just lasting. It's slightly bitter. The tea leaf, strong tea leaf is slightly bitter.
like the typical like a black tea, like an orange Pecco black tea. Imagine, the tea's in the background for me. Imagine taking the most juicy, succulent peach you can find, and you pour a little bit of brown sugar, a little bit of demerara sugar on it, and then a little bit of like caramel. And then you, like the creme brulee, you gently toast it with a creme brulee flame burner, and then take a bite, just bite into it. Juicy, succulent, delicious.
I'm getting furniture polish, wax, furniture wax.
I get a little bit of salt and a tiny little bit of a peaty element.
Absolutely. Some hints of that sea salt, sea air. Very little of it though. Just very candied. We joke around sometimes. We feel like it's like gummy bears, but it is. It's like some of those delicious fruit candies.
We always say like Springbank brand gummy bears. This
There
is
you go.
what you would imagine the flavors.
Yeah.
Honey mustard, cola, sherry, vinaigrette,
Yeah.
and all those fruits.
Yeah, definitely. Balsamic. Old style sherry, baby. Amazing. I'm going to go ahead and have one more taste before we score. The finish is nice. It's definitely sitting there. I would say it's approaching long finish. The viscosity on my tongue is nice. Not as nice as if, let's say, this was bottled at closer to 50%, but we'll take the 46. It would be a shame to bottle this at 40% because you just wouldn't get the same experience. But the finish is very nice. It's fruity. A lot of those notes are still continuing. On the second taste, it didn't really change much for me. I'm still experiencing very much the same stuff. Very that tea element though at the end, in the background, the back of my tongue, I definitely feel that. And as it approaches the front of my tongue, it becomes more fruity. Very complex. Really, really good. Anything to add, or should we score?
Just saying that Springbank always does all their basic releases, their basic range at 46%, which I love because, like Macallan, a lot of distilleries, they do it at 43%, maybe even 40%, and I feel like that you lose so much when you go down, even though it's between 3 and 6% ABV. I feel like 46% is the minimum that you should bottle the whiskey at.
Absolutely. For me, score-wise, this is it's hard to not give it a really, really high score, and I love this whiskey so much. One of my favorites. I'm gonna give it a 93 out of 100.
I'm thinking the same thing, and simply because at first glance it tastes so amazing, but there's other Springbanks that are so much better. So
it really comes down to...
It's really relative.
Yeah, it really comes down to that. If we hadn't tried some better versions or better whiskeys, maybe we would rank this higher. So in terms of what you rank, I guess you go with whatever your favorite is, whatever you rank that, and then everything else you try, is based on that. So if we hadn't tried some of those other whiskeys, maybe it would be scored higher. So harsh grade, even though 93 is an amazing score. Right. 93 out of 100. Springbank 21. Take care. See you guys soon.